Hello. Hi, Gabriel. I see that you have your daughter with you. We're here to talk about some very important and sensitive issues concerning your child's upbringing. We're interested in hearing your story further about how you would like to have Jackie taken care of. Would you please discuss with us what kind of options you envision for Jackie's upbringing? What's important to you specifically?
So initially, I wanted full and sole custody of Jackie, but now that I'm thinking about it, actually Nissan, I don't know. He keeps saying that he'll get a babysitter, so maybe if he vets the babysitter and she'll be what's that called? If she'll be appropriate and if she'll pass the vetting process and we want some references. I guess I'm willing to do a split custody with him, meaning that I'll let him have her 1 week, I'll have her 1 week. This is not something I'm willing to mention to him right away. I want to see like where we are, but that is my bottom line. There's no way that I would give him full custody. I don't think he wants full custody. So that is where I stand right now as of custody situation. Um,
Okay. Yes, so generally you want sole custody of a child you can unless you and Nissan can agree upon a caretaker who meets your standards.
Correct.
Were there any deeper issues that you were concerned about with regard to Jackie? We talked about the education. We talked about extracurricular activities. We talked about her religious involvement. Those are just some areas in which you can have a say or you can share a say with Nissan. Could you tell me what those look like for you?
Yeah, and maybe let's, maybe I can help you on the situation and just kind of break it down a little bit. Um, if you're okay with this, Jennifer, maybe let's and Gabby, maybe let's just take one issue at a time. So like, um, let's start off with education. Okay. Um, Maybe give us a little bit about what kind of education you're looking for in your child, and yeah, just explain to us a little bit
Right, of course.
about what.
Like I mentioned earlier, I want to send her to private school, and this is something Nisha and I both agree on. So I don't think this is an issue of substance really right now because we both agree that we want to send her to a private school, and obviously we want her to flourish in her studies. So that is something I think we agree upon. Um, for the second thing that you mentioned, I think was it religion? I don't recall.
Religion, yes.
So in terms of religion, I am a little bit less religious than Nissan. I mean, I practice a little bit, um, but I am not at the level where he is. So I am willing to like meet him somewhere in the middle in terms of religion. Maybe we could send her to Jewish school or Catholic school, whatever he prefers. Um, if that's what he wants, then I'm fine with that. If he wants her to keep the holidays to a certain extent, okay, I'm fine with that. I'm willing to negotiate with that. Um, in terms of extracurricular activities, he wanted to send her to dance school. I would really like that. So I don't know if the arrangements are really what the issue is, um, because we both want the same exact thing for Jackie.
Can I ask, how do you feel about the person who should be Jackie's contact in case of emergency or her medical proxy? A serious matter such as that.
I think that should um, be my opinion and my decision, but um, I'm willing to discuss these circumstances with her father, Nissan, if they arise and when and if they arise. Um, but yeah, I just would prefer that I do it, but I don't mind bringing it up with him and discussing it with him.
Okay, okay.
Okay. In case of emergency, as we're kind of just on this topic, I just would want to ask, um, let's say you or I mean, let's say that Nissan, you or Nissan, let's say one of you, there is an emergency, Jackie gets hurt at school or something like that, and one of you, you know,
Oh, God
can't come.
forbid. But if I am unable to attend to this circumstance, this unfortunate circumstance, I would have my mother come. My mother lives only a mile away from the school. If I would call her and ask her to be there, she will be there. Also, Nissan's babysitter, I guess we can give her a call, and I hope she would be there. But in the event that she can't, I mean, I have my parents. I could ask a neighbor maybe to come. I don't think that is so much of an issue, frankly.
Okay, yeah, we're not. These are just things that may arise, and therefore we're just trying to bring out all these things that put them
Well,
on the table.
we
Just
don't want to alarm you, but like if something should happen, we want to make sure that someone who can care for the best interest of Jackie is available to do so. Um, you suggested putting her care under under the influence of a neighbor, or your willingness to have the babysitter watch out for her in case an emergency arises. Could we just describe a scenario, for example, where, once again, like Ben said, Jackie's hurt at school. You want to be the first person that gets reached about this. But what if Nissan can more quickly travel to the school? Would you be okay with him um, being physically present if Jackie happens to get hurt? Or what if she does have to be admitted to a hospital for an injury? Um, would you allow Nissan to be present, to consult with the doctor over what kind of treatment she should get?
I would like for them to discuss it with me before they make any final decisions.
Would you repeat that, please? I had a
I
hard
would like
time
them,
hearing you.
sure, I would like them to go over with me about any decisions that they might make, um, in in reference to any surgeries, God forbid, that
Yes, God
my daughter might
forbid.
have.
Okay, you do want to be the in case of the emergency contact, of course, also her medical
Yes, of course.
proxy. Um, that's the status that you want to have. Can we talk about day-to-day scheduling? Um, let's say that the two of you could agree to joint physical custody, which means that the child spends some time with you and the child spends some time with Nissan or the babysitter that both of you have vetted. What do pickups and drop-offs look like? What would you desire in that situation? Um, because you have to have an encounter, a regular encounter with Nissan in order to pick up your child and drop her off with him. Could you just describe that?
Yeah, I guess a good situation or a good scenario would be, where, say, for example, his end of the week comes to Monday morning, he'll drop her off at school, and then Monday evening, I'll pick her up from school. And I will do the same the following week. I'll drop her off at school Monday morning, he'll pick her up Monday evening of the same day. So I think that that type of scenario would work for me.
I see, I
Mhm.
see. So you would have whoever the child is staying with that week would drop her off to school, and then the other parent would pick her up from school for that week. All right, you're
Yes,
comfortable with that?
I
And
am. I am.
we just want to get into like the nitty-gritty details. So let's say that one of you is running 15 minutes late. In this case, Nissan running 15 minutes late. Would you give him the courtesy of waiting that 15 minutes? Um, that meaning that you have a little bit more time with Jackie, but you do not then,
Yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah. I don't.
Another question that that comes to mind is let's say let's take vacations for example. Um, how would you want to split up vacation time with your daughter Jackie?
So Nissan obviously goes on a lot more vacations than I do. If he wants to take her out of the country, I would like want notice of it, at least 1 month notice of him taking her out of the country. If he wants to go on vacation, I guess if it's his week of having the baby, I guess it's fine. I don't see an issue with it. But then again, I would still want notice. I think plays a crucial role in determining whether she could go or not. If I find out that she's there and I wasn't aware of it, it will be very tough for me to sit with that.
Okay, so what? So you want to just make sure that you get a 1 month notice before Nissan takes Jackie on vacation. Understood.
That's
Um, so what about if it wasn't your week? Would you still be okay with that 1 month notice?
if it was my week, you're saying?
If it was not your week, I mean, if it was your week, I'm sorry. If it was your week to be with Jackie, would you be okay with Nissan hypothetically taking Jackie on vacation?
Sure. If he would request it in advance, say like, "Hey, I can't. Do you mind if I take her for this in this week?" I'd most likely say, "Sure, no problem."
Okay.
Well, that's great. That's really great, Gabriel. Um, I'm I'm happy for you. Uh, I wanted to see a set of circumstances that you would be happy with, and it sounds like you're okay with your former partner having some oversight in the regular care of the child. Um, this is an agreement that is going to require a lot of work on your end because you have to collaborate with your former partner, but it seems that you're especially willing to do so. And I just wanted to commend you on that. Ben, did you have more questions about parenting time?
Um,
Let's
yeah,
talk about let's talk about birthdays and particular milestones.
I was about to say. I was
Yes.
about to say.
So I guess that for my birthday, I guess she would spend some time with me, and on Nissan's birthday, she'll spend time with him. Um, I mean, the main issue I see is that her birthday, how would we split that fairly? And I would like to have her and her birthday. I'm sure he would say the same. So that is something that we have to discuss and maybe come to a solution on.
Could you see yourself in the same room with Nissan during one of Jackie's birthdays? I know that you said it's okay for Jackie to stay with Nissan on his birthday, and you would prefer that she stay with you on your birthday. But let's say there's a big event, and Jackie's friends want to come out and celebrate with her. Who supervises this this event?
Can you repeat that, please?
Let's say that it's Jackie's birthday, and she has friends who want to celebrate with her. Let's say you want to take her out to an amusement park, perhaps, or go to a nice restaurant, do something special for her. Who has primarily the supervisory role? I don't want that to sound like it's mutually exclusive between you and Nissan, but to suggest, do you see a possibility of the two of you being in the same room? Or let's say that it's Jackie's graduation, another huge milestone. Would the two of you attend a graduation of Jackie's together?
I would attend it if he bring any of his girlfriends around, and I would reciprocate. I would not bring any guys around.
Okay, all right. I see that this is a point of contention for you. Um, Now, I just want to ask you, do you think it's reasonable that Nissan might bring someone to an event of Jackie's, someone that he's not serious about? Do you foresee something like that happening?
Oh yes, definitely.
Oh, well, that is sad and it's problematic, but we can have a discussion about that just so that you feel reassured that it's a safe environment for you and Jackie. Ben, would you have any further questions about what parenting time might look like?
Yes, just to comment on that last question, I just wanted to know if Nissan did get married, would you still be okay with going to one of Jackie's, you know, events having Nissan's husband or wife there?
It would definitely be tougher for me. This is something I would have to put some thought into. But
Okay,
Okay.
maybe the wound heal a little bit because I'm still a little bit emotionally invested into this.
we will give you time to think about this, and we thank you so much for running through these scenarios with us because it can really truly manifest itself in the future. We just thank you so much for spending time helping us to draw a picture of what split custody could look like. Once again, we allow you to retain your position, and we want to know if it's okay to share what we've discussed with Nissan when we come back together.
Yes, sure, but I don't want
Okay,
to lose all the cards in one shot because I want to see what he's willing to offer before he knows what I'm willing to offer.
okay, all right, that sounds great. We will have a very in-depth discussion with Nissan, and then we'll
Okay,
come back together. Thank you,
thank you.
Thank
Gabriel.
you.
Hello, Nissan. It's nice to see you again. I want to thank you for caucusing with us. During this caucus, we're going to discuss custody issues. We would like to hear about what your interests are insofar as custody of Jackie goes. Um, I'm glad that she's here with you. Jackie's here, and you can talk about what kind of scenarios you envision coming into place in the future because what we want to discuss are the details of what custody looks like. Are you interested in sole custody? Or would you be willing to yield partial custody to Gabriel? Tell us more.
I think in terms of custody, I'm very flexible, and I just want what's best for my daughter Jackie. Um, I could have full custody. I have the means to hire a babysitter full time, and I can take care of my daughter at night. Uh, in terms of split custody or joint custody, I'm open to that option as well, but I have to be certain that certain requirements will be met.
Okay, so I'm hearing that you are flexible with regard to custody. You would be interested in having sole custody of Jackie, but with with some caveats here that if Gabriel were able to contribute to the care of the child, you would be interested in discussing what that might look like. Um,
Yes.
now, you did hear from previous conversation. I just want to bring this in that that Gabriel feels comfortable taking care of Jackie at her tender years. I know that you were willing to hire a babysitter to do that as a full-time job, but Gabriel's very prepared to take on a role in his daughter's life. Um, would you tell us a little bit about what you foresee for Jackie? And this is just coming from your own heart, what you see for Jackie in terms of education, religion, any extracurricular activities, and of course, we want to talk about medical. Please
Well,
share.
to be honest, I mentioned the case of full custody because I wanted to see what Gabby's response was going to be. But during that first part of the mediation, I think I was satisfied to see that there is care and there is, the will to be a full time parent. So I was happy about that. In terms of health, health is first and foremost. I'll do whatever it takes. My job gives me a good family plan, so I would assume that our daughter stays under my health insurance policy, and I don't mind having that. And in terms of the custody, perhaps maybe I could even hire Gabby as a babysitter for the daytime, and then I'll have Jacqueline to be with me at night. This way, we both could have custody. I think that will work out.
Okay, now that is an interesting option that you just came up with. I would like to think about that a little bit further. So you suggested that Gabby act as the babysitter of your child. Gabby's willing to be a full parent. What your suggestion implies is that you would be willing to pay Gabby in order to take care of the child. Um, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
So I guess I'll give whatever the minimum wage is. So I think it's $15 an hour right now for Gabby to take care of the child from 9 to 5. And when I get home from work at 6 o'clock, I would take over. Um, Jackie's not, Gabby's not breastfeeding anymore, so it's a lot easier to feed the child. I don't think there's an issue with that. So maybe that's an option that we could explore.
Okay, I'm hearing that that's an option, that you would pay Gabby to be the babysitter for your child. We might want to test that and see if that's something that Gabriel's willing to accept. Um, you've also talked about your health insurance plan, which is excellent. I'm glad that Jackie's taken care of in that regard. But we want to talk about the scope of decision making when it comes to Jackie's medical problems that, God forbid, do not come up. But let's say that Jackie's hurt at school, or Jackie needs an emergency treatment. Who would be the decision maker? Who would be Jackie's medical proxy, advocating on her behalf if you're debating some serious treatment that she might undergo, God forbid?
Well, if it's not a 50-50 solution.
Well, that could be an option, that the two of you have joint custody over that scope of decision making. That is an option, but I wanted to know about what you desired with regard to medical decision making. Would you be happy sharing that decision? Let's say there's an emergency. Who should the school reach out to first if Jackie gets hurt on the playground, or if Jackie gets injured somewhere, has to be transferred to the hospital for a surgery? Who should make that decision, and how?
Well, I think if it's during business hours, I feel more comfortable with Gabby handling that type of situation because
Okay.
he doesn't have a job.
Are you implying that it would even be better for you to have Gabby go to the school and be involved in that versus having someone else, say a babysitter that you hired, to do that?
No, I think I'm confident that Gabby would be the best for that situation.
Okay,
As,
you
as
say that you're confident that Gabby would be the best. That's a strong statement, and we're glad to hear that you're willing to work out that kind of agreement with your former spouse. Um, I would like to I would like to make sure that we keep these options in mind when we come back to make collective decisions. But there's more. We need to discuss what is going to be done during holidays, birthdays, and major milestones such as graduations.
well, since I think that I'm the more religious parent, I think that all holidays should be with me because they're actually going to be spent, celebrating the holidays as opposed to just another day. In terms of birthdays, whoever's birthday it is, if it's my birthday, I think Jackie should be with me. If it's Gabby's birthday, she should be with them.
What about
And
what about next Jackie's birthday? What can you see? How can you see? Would you be comfortable having Gabby there and you being there as well?
yeah, I think I would be comfortable with that, but I think that I would make the ultimate decisions of where the party would be and what the party is because I'll be most likely sponsoring that birthday.
Would you be able to see yourself in the same room with Gabby? Like, let's say that it's her graduation from preschool into first grade. Would you be present at that ceremony if you know that Gabby will be there? Would you want Gabby to be at that ceremony if you're there?
Yeah, I think in all events relating to Jackie, I think that we both should be there.
Okay, thank you. I'm hearing.
I don't think we should bring any other people in terms of if I had a relationship or if Gabby had a relationship. I think that, you know, I think it would just cause more friction. So I think we should just go to those events alone.
Well, that is, I do commend you on this because I knew that at first there was a contentious debate over who should have custody, and you seem that you seem more willing to yield to your former partner the responsibilities for the upbringing of your child. And I think that that is progress because we do want to act in the best interest of the child. And knowing that she has two parents who care for her is a wonderful thing for Jackie. Um, what we want to do is reach a mutual understanding about how you might co-parent, since both of you, if Gabby doesn't mind my saying, both of you seem intent on sharing the responsibilities of legal custody. There was one more thing that we need to talk about here, which is the physical custody. Who is the primary residential parent? I know that you've talked about the babysitter, and you've suggested that Gabby could be a babysitter. I'm wondering how Gabby might take that suggestion, but what would you what would you allow in terms of the two of you sharing joint residential custody? Is that something that you would entertain? Is that something that you would think about and seriously consider? Because it could be an option.
It's something I would consider if Gabby wouldn't agree to just babysitting and then I have the child all the other time when they're not babysitting. I think, but my primary, um, my goal is to have full custody of Jackie and just to have Gabby as the babysitter.
Okay, I'm hearing that that joint residential custody is is somewhat of a notion that you might entertain. You're still pursuing sole custody, but you said that you were willing to be flexible. So we seem to have at least three options. If I can count them, it would be that you are the sole parent. It would be to have your former spouse act as a paid babysitter for your child, or finally to allow the both of you to have residential custody of the child, perhaps on alternate weeks. What would your strongest preference be?
I think my strongest preference would be full custody, full sole
Okay.
custody.
Okay, but we did make a way. We did make some progress when we were able to recognize that both of you have capabilities in terms of parenting your child. I want to make sure that you're aware that that's still on the table, that some form of shared custody is still an option, although your preference would be sole custody. Are you willing to?
Yes, that's definitely an option.
Okay. Are you willing to take this discussion back to the broader mediation session? And is it okay for me to share what we've discussed?
Yes to both.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much. Ben, do you have any follow-up questions, any closing questions that might get a little bit more into the specifics?
Just
We
one last question. With regards to vacations, this is something that had come up when we were speaking with Gabby. We just wanted to kind of hear a little bit about what you had in mind as to how to say Gabby wanted to go on vacation with Jackie, and it was your week, or it was your time to be with Jackie. Would you be okay with Gabby taking Jackie on vacation?
I think it would be depending on where they would be going. If it was out of the country, absolutely not. But if it was somewhere local or within the country, I think I'd be okay with it.
Okay. All right. That was just my final question. We thank you for spending time with us with the caucus. Jennifer, you have any other questions?
I do not have any other questions. I think this has been a very productive session, and I do thank you so much for your time.
And I thank you both for giving me this time.